from people who found hidden cameras. These are real experiences from ordinary people who discovered they were being watched in the most terrifying ways. Remember, these stories are based on true events, and they're told in the first person to make you feel like you're right there. Let's dive into the first story. This one comes from Sarah, and about 6 months ago, I packed up my life and moved to Chicago for a fresh start. I got a decent job at a small design firm downtown, and I found this cozy one-bedroom apartment in an old building on the edge of Wicker Park. It wasn't fancy. Think creaky wooden floors, high ceilings, and those big bay windows that let in tons of light during the day. The rent was affordable, which was a miracle in the city, and the landlord seemed nice enough, an older guy named Mr. Harlan who lived in the unit downstairs. He handed me the keys with a smile that lingered just a second too long, but I brushed it off as him being friendly. My routine was pretty simple. I'd wake up at 7 a.m., make coffee in my tiny kitchen, scroll through emails on my laptop at the breakfast bar, then head out for the train to work. Afternoons were spent at the office, sketching logos and editing photos until around 6 p.m. Then I'd grab takeout or cook something quick, maybe binge a show on the couch before bed by 11. On weekends, I'd hit the local gym or explore the neighborhood cafes. It was all so normal, the kind of life I dreamed of after years in a small town. But from the start, something felt off. Little things at first. The building was unusually quiet. No kids running around. No dogs barking. Just this heavy silence that made every creak of the floorboards echo like a whisper. I'd catch glimpses of shadows moving under my door sometimes, but when I'd peek through the peephole, the hallway was empty. And Mr. Harlan, he'd give me these weird looks when we'd pass in the lobby, his eyes darting away too quickly, like he was studying me without wanting to be caught. One evening, as I was unloading groceries, I felt this prickling on the back of my neck, like someone was staring. I turned around, but the street was empty except for a parked car with tinted windows that I'd swear wasn't there before. I told myself it was just the adjustment to city life, the paranoia of being alone in a new place. Friends back home laughed when I mentioned it over video calls, saying I was watching too many thrillers. But then, one night after work, I came home and noticed my living room plant had been moved. It was a big ficus by the window, and it was shifted about a foot to the left. I hadn't touched it. Dust marks on the floor showed where it used to be. My heart skipped a beat. Was someone in my apartment? I checked the locks, all secure. No signs of break-in. But that plant, it made me pause. Who would move it and why? I shook it off and went to bed. But sleep didn't come easy that night. Little did I know, that was just the beginning. As the weeks went on, those small oddities started piling up, turning my new home into a place I dreaded returning to. It wasn't just the silence anymore. It was like the apartment itself was holding its breath, waiting for something. I'd wake up in the middle of the night to faint scratching sounds from the walls, like nails on wood. But when I'd listen closer, it'd stop. Items kept shifting. A book on my shelf flipped upside down. My coffee mug left on the counter instead of in the sink where I'd put it. I started double-checking everything, but it only made me feel crazier. Then the phone calls began. The first one came late one evening while I was cooking pasta. My phone rang from an unknown number. I answered, and there was nothing but heavy breathing on the other end. "Hello," I said, my voice shaky, more breathing than a click. I blocked the number, but the next night, another call from a different one. This time, a low whisper, "You're home early tonight." My blood ran cold. How did they know? I hung up and stared at my phone, hands trembling. After that, anonymous texts started trickling in, things like, "Nice dress today," or "You look tired." I'd delete them, but they'd come back. Always from new numbers. I felt eyes on me everywhere. Walking to the train, I'd sense someone following, footsteps echoing mine but stopping when I did. Once, I spun around and caught a glimpse of a figure in a hood ducking into an alley. At work, I'd get this uneasy feeling during lunch breaks, like someone was staring from across the street. I confided in my coworker, Jen, over coffee. "Sarah, it's probably just spam calls and your imagination," she said with a laugh. "New city jitters. Get a security app or something." My friends back home said the same. You're overthinking it, but how could they understand? Felt personal, targeted. The tension built until one rainy afternoon. I came home to find my mailbox stuffed with junk, but buried in it was a plain envelope with no stamp, just my name scrawled in block letters. Inside was a photo of me, taken from outside my window, me in my pajamas reading on the couch. My address was written on the back in the same handwriting. I see you. My stomach dropped. Someone knew exactly where I lived, and they'd been close enough to slip this in without me noticing. I rushed inside, bolted the door, and called the police, but they said without more evidence, it was just a prank. That night, I barely slept, jumping at every sound. The danger wasn't abstract anymore. It was right at my doorstep, watching, waiting. What if they were inside already? It all came to a head one stormy Friday night. I'd worked late, dodging the rain on my way home, and by the time I got in, it was past 10 p.m. The building felt emptier than usual, the wind howling outside like a bad omen. I locked the door, drew the curtains, and tried to unwind with a hot shower. But that prickling sensation was back, stronger than ever, like invisible eyes boring into me. I told myself to relax, poured a glass of wine, and settled on the couch with a book. The thunder rumbled, lightning flashing through the cracks in the blinds, casting eerie shadows on the walls around midnight. I heard it, a soft click from the bedroom. My heart jumped. I froze, straining to listen. Nothing. Then another click like a door latch or something electronic. I set my book down, hands shaking, and tiptoed toward the hallway. The floor creaked under my feet, too loud in the silence. My breathing quickened, shallow and ragged, as I peered into the dark bedroom. Everything looked normal, bed made, lamp on the nightstand, closet door ajar like always. But then, a faint whirring sound, almost like a fan. Coming from the air vent above my bed, I grabbed my phone for light, my pulse pounding in my ears. Climbing onto the bed, I shone the flashlight into the vent grill. Dust bunnies and... Wait, something gleamed back. A tiny lens? My stomach twisted. With trembling fingers, I unscrewed the vent cover. It came off easily, too easily, like it had been tampered with. Inside, nestled in the duct, was a small camera, wires snaking into the wall, a red light blinking faintly. It was pointed right at my bed. Oh God, someone had been watching me sleep, shower, everything. Panic surged through me. I dropped the cover, stumbling back, my heart hammering like it would burst. Who put it there? How long? I spun around, checking the room, another vent in the living room, the kitchen. I ripped off the living room cover and found another camera, this one with a microphone attachment. Shadows danced as lightning struck again, and that's when I saw it. A silhouette at the window, a face pressed against the glass, eyes locked on me. It was Mr. Harlan, his expression blank and terrifying in the flash. I screamed, grabbing a lamp as a weapon. He didn't move at first, just stared, then slowly backed away into the rain. I dialed 911, voice breaking as I whispered, "Someone's watching me. He's outside." The line crackled with the storm. Minutes felt like hours, thunder booming, my body shaking uncontrollably. I barricaded myself in the bathroom, listening for footsteps, for the door knob turning. Sirens finally wailed in the distance. When police arrived, Harlan was gone, vanished into the night. They found more cameras in the bathroom, the kitchen. I'd been his private show for weeks. I barely escaped that nightmare, collapsing as they led me out. The days after that night were a blur of police statements, packing boxes, and sleepless hotel stays. The cops raided Mr. Harlan's apartment downstairs and found a setup straight out of a horror movie. Monitors hooked up to feeds from my place, recordings dating back to the day I moved in. He drilled through the walls while I was at work, installing those tiny spy cams in the vents. Turns out, he had a history, complaints from previous tenants, but nothing stuck until now. They arrested him hiding in a motel nearby, charged with stalking and invasion of privacy. My boss gave me time off and my family drove up to help me move out. I quit the job eventually. Chicago lost its appeal. I relocated to a suburb back near home, a secure condo with cameras of my own. The irony isn't lost on me. But the experience changed me forever. I'm paranoid now, always scanning rooms for odd angles, covering webcams on my devices, even checking hotel vents when I travel. Simple things like undressing or sleeping feel vulnerable. I see therapists, but the fear lingers, that violation of my privacy, knowing someone watched my most intimate moments. Friends try to reassure me, but they don't get the constant dread. I avoid old buildings, steer clear of overly friendly landlords. Life goes on, but it's tainted. Then, a couple weeks ago, something happened that shook me all over again. I was settling into my new place when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, a photo attachment. It was me in my new living room unpacking boxes, taken from inside, somehow. No message, just the image. I reported it, changed my number, but it haunts me. Was it Harlan from jail? An accomplice? Or did he install something before I left that I missed? Sometimes I wonder if he's still watching me right now, waiting for the right memento strike again. Or worse, what if there are more like him out there, hidden in plain sight? Thanks for listening to Sarah's story. If you have a true scary experience, send it in. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more chills. Sweet dreams, or not.